Oh, halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us today as we go till 3 here on the game. Obviously, transfer portal mania going on. South Carolina, a couple ads in the portal over the weekend. And so that's a good thing. Transfer portal ads are good. And South Carolina adding a couple, not losing anything. Some schools losing a lot, not getting a whole lot. It's craziness. We'll tally it all up by the time it's all said and done. Also, some guys committing over the weekend. We'll get you caught up on that as well. Kyle Kennard obviously making his announcement he's going to jump into the NFL draft. Did not say if he's going to opt out of the bowl game or not. There's a little mix-up on that through the weekend, but so far Kyle Kennard has not opted out of the bowl game yet. So we'll see where all that ends up with the South Carolina edge pass rusher. But again, he is a guy that is, I believe, won't go past the second round. Possibly go bottom of first round. So we shall see where Kyle Kennard ends up in the draft, but a guy that will go no later than second day. One of many guys on this defense that's really helped themselves with the with their draft stock. And we've talked about it. You've got, Kyle Kennard. You got Demetrius Knight, Nicky Manwari. I think O'Donnell Fortune. Anybody I missed? Nah, that's about it for the guys who could roll off into the draft. And, even guys like, TJ Sanders too. What's wrong with me? TJ Sanders, obviously, as well. Other guys are going to get their opportunities. The Tonka Hemingways and the Boogie Huntleys and the Bam Martin Scotts and the Debo Williams. Those guys are going to get their chance. There's no doubt whether they get drafted the third day, whether it's sometime on the second day, whether it's just signed as a free agent. I mean, there are a lot of opportunity. I think Demetrius Knight's going to get drafted. I think I could see a fourth-round landing spot for Knight. Maybe if somebody likes him late third. TJ Sanders is going to get drafted again, fourth round. Somebody likes him late third. Those guys bring specific skill set that if a team likes them sometime late third round, they could go. If not, definitely go in the fourth. But they'll get drafted, those two guys. And like we know, Kyle Kennard will. Nicky Manwari will probably be a second rounder. Right now, he's a number 2 safety on Mel Kiper's big board. Could that slip him into the first round? Sure. Especially because I think Nick is going to do just fine at the Underwear Olympics. Just fine. And that, and again, in this world, that helps your draft stock. I mean, is it kooky to me? Sure. To me, what helps your draft stock? Let me turn on the tape and watch you play football. But there are certain measurables that teams will look for in the combine that can help your draft stock. Yeah. Like when a guy runs a 40 really fast, that's going to move you up in the draft. I always thought they should do something. If you want to do 50 yards, fine, but put them in full pads and have them be chased. Because that's football, right? If you're a wide receiver or a running back or a tight end or skill position guy, you get the ball, you're running really fast to get to the end zone, A, and B, to avoid getting killed. How fast do you run with the ball in your hands and people chasing you? That's what I really want to know. I don't need you to be, wearing track shoes or Crocs or whatever and run the 50, run the 40. Okay, whatever. But there are specific things that people look for in the combine. Sometimes it's those little drills you don't even think about, like the shuttle. They have 10-yard cone drills, all these other little things that can tell you short area quickness. And I get it, but still, it's nothing like turning on the tape and watching a guy play football. That always should be, to me, the number one thing that moves you up on a draft board. or how you play in these all-star games against other draftable players. I think that's important. But, again, a quarterback dropping back to pass and throwing the ball to wide receivers with no coverage and no blitzes. And, okay, whatever. I just don't, I've always shook my head. But also what you do like a quarterback, what do you do on the whiteboard? The interviews, even though the interviews, these draftable players all get coached up on the interviews. If you screw up an interview, I think that's the thing probably about really? That's not good. So that would just be me. More than, some other things that I guess, scouts look for. But I think Nick will help himself. I think Knight will. Demetrius Knight's a physical freak. Here's another guy popping over 20 miles an hour. I think Knight will help himself at the combine. And, in the interview room, Knight will. Because Knight's a grown man. Now, his age could ding him because they look at that as well. But I think Demetrius Knight's going to be a good get for someone. If his skill set fits their defensive system, he could shine. He really could. I just really love how his game blew up as the year went on. Really did. And Nick Emmanwori, his improvement in coverage and recognition, there was some work there. Again, did the pass rush help? Sure. But still, Nick got better. You watched Nick last year, and plus they put Nick in a position to succeed. Covering the slot was not putting Nick Emmanwori in a position to succeed. They tried it because, again, he's fast, he's big. It's just, it just wasn't his wheelhouse. What he does this year in coverage has been his wheelhouse. So a bunch of guys on that defense will get their chance to earn a living in the NFL. But anyway, circling back, Kyle Kennard has not opted out for the bowl game as of yet that I'm looking for. Didn't see anything. We're always refreshing. That's what we do. Transfer portal-wise for South Carolina, adding Nick Sharp to the offensive line. Offensive line, you're losing 3 starters. So it'd be good to add some depth there. And again, you got a bunch of young'uns, the Marquis Andersons of the world. You got, Tro Ball. Also you've got, Cam Pringle, Tree Barbalata. You got a lot of young offensive linemen who were 4 stars or high 3 stars that, you're hoping will develop and be ready to roll for you. But it's good to get a Nick Sharp for insurance. Absolutely. There were people thinking Torricelli, Simpkins, and Kamar Bell might be just insurance. No, they became starters, and Simpkins was the team's best offensive lineman. He's another guy who's going to get a chance to play pro ball. Defensive line-wise, Jaylen Brown, the Missouri edge, a lot of potential. Didn't play much last year, but a lot of raw ability and potential. So Brown is in along with Nick Sharp. Now, when you look at running back, you probably heard by now Justice Haynes from Alabama, the number 1 ranked running back in the transfer portal. He's visiting South Carolina, I believe, today and tomorrow. Also, Ole Miss gets a visit in this as well. Other programs to watch, Florida, Michigan, Ohio State. When you're going after high-level guys, guess who goes after high-level guys? Yep, high-level programs. So we'll see where that goes. And if South Carolina could pull a Justice Haynes, that'd be fantastic. Fantastic. Also, another interesting name is Casey Concepcion. What could happen there? He's got South Carolina in his final 6. Excellent playmaker at wide receiver. Dabbled in running back a bit, too, at NC State. But he's got game. Wide receiver-wise, Omega Blake back in the portal. Could be an option. Older now. He's gotten more experience. He's been productive. We'll see maybe a Omega Blake talking with South Carolina about the possibility of coming back. So, we'll see. Obviously left on good terms. So that's an interesting name to keep in the back of your head at wide receiver. Dane Key, doesn't look like that's going to happen. C.J. Daniels, LSU wide receiver, that doesn't seem like it's going to happen either. Feels like they'll go in different directions. Tight end position, Zach Atkins will be in town. Obviously, South Carolina has Michael Hunt, Brady Smith, Maurice Brown on the roster for next year. but might be good to add a tight end with some experience and who's been there, done that, so to speak. Defensive line besides Jaylen Brown, Kelby Collins might be in for a visit this week. Gabriel Brownlow Dindy, the former five-star recruit who went to A&M, I believe is in town for a visit. Andrew Jones from Grambling is an interesting name at linebacker. He'll be visiting this week. Again, athletic, was very productive at Grambling. Yes, it's a big step from Grambling to the SEC, but from Charlotte to the SEC was a pretty big step for Demetrius Knight. Andrew Jones has a ton of ability, so we'll see what goes there. Josiah Trotter was at Missouri yesterday. He's due to come into South Carolina this week, the linebacker from West Virginia. And at defensive back, Central Florida transfer Chasen Johnson was committed to Southern Cal, then signed with SMU. Ball State's Miles Norwood booked a visit for this week. So one of those two possibly could help out. Because remember, you're conceivably losing a few in the defensive backfield. But with Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State, no-brainer, baby. Mississippi State. He ended up committing to Auburn. It's the way this thing goes. Now, could Auburn have offered a great NIL deal that Mississippi State couldn't match? Could be. Auburn needs a starting quarterback, too. So Jackson Arnold off to Auburn. Michael Van Buren, who was the starter at Mississippi State after Shapen got hurt, their veteran signal caller. Van Buren, the freshman, he left because I think he thought that, heck, Jackson Arnold's coming to Mississippi State. Well, Van Buren went in the portal. He is now committed to LSU, but Garrett Nussmeier is coming back to LSU. So Van Buren left one situation where he thought he wouldn't get a chance to start to go to another situation where he's not going to get a chance to start. That's what this does, man. It's crazy. It's like musical chairs with shoulder pads. It's insane. So that's some of the stuff going on in the transfer portal, as well as with Kyle Kennard. That's kind of getting you caught up on South Carolina news. No one yet has said they're opting out of the bowl game for the Gamecocks. We'll talk about why for that. It's not a shock, but let's get into that next. Why you might see very few, if any, opt-outs for South Carolina for this bowl game. We'll get into that next. Also, this week, very special week for Carolina Calls. Wednesday, a Citrus Bowl version with Shane Beamer and Todd Elliston. Thursday, the regular Carolina Calls during basketball season with Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. Both of those Carolina Calls shows are at 6 p.m. Shane on Wednesday, Lamont on Thursday. Opting out, we haven't heard much. That's a good thing for South Carolina getting ready for the Citrus Bowl. We'll yip about that next. It is the halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us. We go till 3 here on The Game. It's halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us as we run this sucker up until 3 o'clock on the game. Then the postgame show. Jay rolling solo. Elijah off today. He'll be back tomorrow as well. All right. Just got this in the old email inbox. I'll share this with you, since we're all so tight. Associated Press. Nick Ammonwari, first-team All-American from the AP. Kyle Kennard, second-team All-American from the AP. So Kyle Kennard, again, second-team edge rusher. Nick Ammonwari, first-team defensive back from the AP. So more honors, more hardware coming in for some of the Gamecock defenders. Out on the edge, Kennard was beaten out by Abdul Carter at Penn State. And Abdul Carter had a really nice year. Abdul Carter looked at as a top 15 pick in the NFL draft. And Ammonwari, again, first team as a DB. So good stuff for Ammonwari and Kennard. More honors and accolades for those two guys. And again, so far, they have not opted out of the bowl game for South Carolina. And, a couple of reasons for that, I think. One, I think getting that 10th win means something. It really does. I mean, you're going to be you'd be the fifth team in South Carolina history to get double-digit wins in a season. And 3 of those were under Steve Spurrier's watch, obviously, and the other for Joe Morrison back in the day. But Shane Beamer would be the third head coach in South Carolina history to have a 10-win season or a double-digit win season. So I think that means something to this crew. And I think this team has a bond and a culture where a lot of them want to stay and, quote-unquote, finish the job, so to speak, right? I think it means something to them. Now, it doesn't mean if 5 guys opt out tomorrow that they're me guys and selfish and don't care about the team. No, that's not it. Again, if Nick Ammonwari and Kyle Kennard and Demetrius Knight and Rocket Sanders said they were opting out of the bowl game to get ready for the NFL draft, to maximize their draft position and to make sure they don't get hurt, I don't think it makes them selfish guys or me guys or not caring about the team guys. I think they're just... you got at some point in time, you got to protect yourself. Get yourself ready for the next step in your life. College prepares you for the next step in life, right? So you just want to, health-wise, protect yourself from getting hurt, having that Jalen Smith injury when Jalen Smith was playing at Notre Dame and played in the bowl game. And tore up his, ACL, MCL, BCL, ZCL, QCL. He tore up everything that ends in CL. And he cost himself money, no doubt. And again, I say this all the time. People go, how about that insurance? Guys get insured. Yeah, good luck collecting. There's some horror stories of guys who have done that. They've gotten insured in case of injury. They've gotten hurt, then tried to collect. Yeah, have fun with that. And no one looking at that 6-game win streak to end the season or the top 25 teams they beat during that 6-game win streak or any of those metrics. I think that annoys that football program. I get it. I'd probably be annoyed too if I was across the street. So I think a lot of things have been equaling this whole, you don't hear about any opt-outs, which is obviously a good thing. But I talked about this earlier in the morning on the Extra Point. The one thing that I don't like is when you hear people talk about teams that don't have a lot of opt-outs. I mean, celebrate if they're going to stay. I think that's great. Say, hey, it's phenomenal that these kids are going to stay and play in a bowl game. Some could have opted out, but they didn't. And instead of celebrating it, people use it for a backhanded slap on the guys who do opt out. Because you know how this goes. When you say something a certain way, you're praising a group while slapping others. Like with this, it's great to see these kids stay and play for coach. That says a lot about the culture and how great the coach is and how united this program is and how these guys are team first. And basically you're saying that the guys who opt out are the opposite of all that. And I don't think that's fair at all. I just don't. And like I said earlier this morning, it's like, look, coaches leave all the time right before bowl games. But they have to, right? No, they don't. If a school says, okay, we want to hire you, but you got to leave now and come start working for us, so you can get a leg up on recruiting, you could very easily say, no, I want to stay and coach my team in the bowl game. And that matters to me. We've come a long way together. I want to finish the job with them, and then I will be on the plane, and I'll be ready to rock and roll for you. But, there are coaches who won't say it because they don't want to maybe have the offer pulled away. But if everybody else can do it, why can't the players also exercise the same right to take care of themselves? So I think it's great. If every South Carolina player stays in to play in the Citrus Bowl, that's phenomenal. But if there are a couple of opt-outs, it doesn't mean they're me guys or selfish guys or awful human beings. It just means they are getting ready for the NFL draft and they're protecting their health so they can maximize their draft status. That's all. That's just it. But so far, so good for the Gamecocks when it comes to opt-outs for the bowl game. That's a halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you, like I say, sitting around with us like we almost always do when I don't forget. At 12:30, we like to let you know what's going on. Maybe you just woke up. Maybe you've been sleeping for the last 12 hours. Maybe you were beat, you were tired, hungover, whatever. And you need to get some sleep, and you just woke up. And you have no idea what's going on in the world of sports because, you don't own a phone, you don't have the internet. Basically, you're like people in my family. So we'll get you caught up just in case you woke up. We'll do that next here on the halftime show. Terry Ford rolling it solo today up until 3 on the game. All right, let's say you want to do some stuff to the home. Maybe you want some new appliances. Maybe you're dying to get a tub in the bathroom. How about some new fixtures, new lighting? One place to go to, and that is the Nest. 1331 Gadsden in the Vista. Just call 803-978-2025. Tell them what you're looking to do, your dreams, your goals, your ideas. They will hook you up with a very experienced person in that field. Like, if you want to get new appliances, Graham's your guy. They'll put you in touch with Graham. Graham will talk to you about what you want to do appliance-wise. Refrigerator, freezer, microwave, whatever it is. Maybe your dishwasher. Then you set an appointment, you come in. They'll walk you through the beautiful showroom. And the best part is they'll make this all happen within your budget. So make that call to the Nest. 1331 Gadsden in the Vista, 803-978-2025. Call the Nest. Make it happen. Oh, what we're talking about. Stuff that maybe you didn't know because you just woke up. Very interesting story. Just saw this. This is very cool, by the way. South Carolina women are going to play in a new tournament and earn over $1 million in NIL cash. This is according to On3. Next year, South Carolina's women's basketball team will play in the Players Era Women's Championship. The Women's Championship will be a new event in women's basketball, following the footsteps of recent men's type of tournaments, just like this. All right, this championship will feature South Carolina, UCLA, Duke, and Texas. Each program will receive at least $1 million in NIL money for participating. The event is expected to take place during Thanksgiving week in 2025. Round-robin style of play. That means each prominent program will get 3 games against the other teams. Champions will earn their crown based on head-to-head record in those games. Several tiebreakers will be in place. But the important thing is, there's a million reasons to play in this thing. That's fantastic. Very nice for the South Carolina women. All right, also, in case you just woke up, Mike Norvell, still the head coach at Florida State, barely, gave $4.5 million of his salary back to the university because, at some point, you got to start paying the players. So Norvell handed back $4.5 million. He contributed it. It's part of the school's Vision of Excellence campaign, and it tends to raise money as the school gets ready for the revenue sharing. It's going to be happening once everything gets settled with this House lawsuit. So Norvell, of course, is making $10 million now. Mike Norvell's bank account, $4.5 million. Old Mike's not going to be working at the Shake Shack part-time. Okay? Mike's going to be okay. Brian Kelly's doing something similar, announcing he'd match donations to LSU's collective up to $1 million. And what do those two programs have in common? Oh, they underachieved this year. Oops. When your team comes off of a double-digit win season when you should have been in the college football playoff and then you win 2 games the next year, anything you can do to help your seat get less hot is a good idea. Now, with that, look, if Florida State stinks again next year, do you think Mike Norvell giving $4.5 million to the school, they're going to go, Mike, we were going to fire you, but that $4.5 million, man, that meant so much to us. We're going to keep you around. No. If Mike Norvell's team finishes with a losing record again next year, the first words out of everybody's mouth is, how much is the buyout? But this is a goodwill gesture. Shows you're trying to help your team guy. So Mike Norvell handing back $4.5 million. The commissioner of the AAC, Tim Pernetti, not happy with the transfer portal window. Army, who won the conference, supposed to play Marshall in the Independence Bowl. Well, Marshall can't play now, because they don't have players. Because 29 dudes popped into the portal after Charles Huff, their head coach, left to take the head coaching gig at Southern Miss. Yes, Marshall did hire a new head coach quickly, but the point is, head coach leaves, guys go in the portal. I don't blame the players. But Pernetti says, look, something's got to be done with this calendar. It's a joke. And it is, because, look, everybody's been using the example. It's like in the NFL, right before the playoffs or the postseason, a bunch of players leave for free agency. Of course they would, and it's asinine. But again, the NFL has a CBA, and they have a commissioner, and they have strong leadership. The NCAA has none of that. So you have chaos. And this is just another form of the chaos. No way Marshall should not be playing in that bowl game. Absolutely, there's no way this should be happening. I agree, but you got to do something about the calendar. Just do. But, again, we'll go back to the hypocritical part of this. Yeah, but shouldn't the coach of Marshall, shouldn't he have stayed and just went through the bowl game? So what if you can't find a job? It doesn't matter. It's about we and us and culture. And don't be selfish. No, you never say that about a coach, but you'll say it about a player because that's kind of what we do. But Huff's gone, took a new gig, couldn't get a contract done with Marshall. It was really a weird thing anyway. He went through the whole year without a new deal. It was strange. I don't know if Huff didn't want the new deal, Marshall didn't want to give him but so much. I don't know you heard different stuff coming out of this thing. But the bottom line is Charles Huff is gone. He's the new head coach at Southern Miss, and 29 players from Marshall hit the transfer portal or opted out. And that means Marshall didn't have enough bodies to really go play the Independence Bowl. All right, this is cool. I just saw this. Okay, you got the Pop-Tarts Bowl, right? I mean, this bowl game's been you name it. It's been 70 million different things. It's been Blockbuster Bowl. It's been the CarQuest Bowl, the Micron PC Bowl, the Florida Tourism Bowl, the Mazda Bowl, the Champ Sports Bowl, the Russell Athletic Bowl, the Camping World Bowl, the Kellogg's Bowl. Pop-Tart Bowl now is what it is. And what they've done that's really cool is the trophy has a football on top of the trophy, right? And the football is also a toaster. How cool is that? You can actually take Pop-Tarts at the Pop-Tart Bowl, put the Pop-Tarts into the football, press the little lever, and the Pop-Tarts will cook. I love it. The Lombardi Trophy should do that. Giving the Super Bowl trophy over to Patrick Mahomes, he can, maybe put some toaster strudel in there. I love toaster strudel. I mean, don't get me wrong. The young version of Terry Ford ate about 17 billion Pop-Tarts. Mine was the strawberry. I like the strawberry. And I like the frosted. Strawberry frosted. But I'm going to tell you, when I found toaster strudel, oh my God. So that'd be great. Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl. So, Patrick, you won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do? I'm going to put some toaster strudel in the Lombardi. Cook it up a little bit. Because that's what this Pop-Tarts, the trophy does for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Very nice. I mean, that's what you should do, right? Come on, you're a Pop-Tart. You're a Pop-Tart Bowl. Own it. Have fun with it. Very cool. Another story that has just popped here in the last hour. Michael Vick is in talks with Norfolk State to become their new head coach. Very interesting. Vick has no formal college football coaching experience. Currently an analyst for the NFL on Fox. Has been with Fox since 2017. Vick told the Virginian Pilot, "I know how to lead and I know what it takes." He said he would hire a seasoned staff to help him with the transition to the head coaching position. Norfolk State recently kicked their head coach, Dawson Odoms. He was only 15-31. Again, this goes down the Deion Sanders road, right? Get a former high-level player who's retired and still young, hire him as your head coach, and see if you make some magic. It worked for Deion, and obviously when it works for one person, everybody's looking for the next copycat. Could it work for Michael Vick? Sure. Why not? If you hire a seasoned staff around you, while you learn how to be a head coach, and in the meantime, you can use your experience and you can, use your reps, so to speak, as a player to kind of help you bridge while you're learning what the bleep to do as a head coach. So, very interesting. Michael Vick. One other transfer portal note. This just hit here a little while ago. Wisconsin has landed San Diego State quarterback Danny O'Neal out of the transfer portal. O'Neal's the starting quarterback for the Aztecs last year. He's all right. Threw for over 2,100 yards, 12 TDs, 6 picks. Also was the team's second leading rusher, if you want to call 93 yards rushing something. But, so O'Neal, he's been okay. He's been solid. And he now has inked up with Wisconsin as they're trying to figure out their quarterback situation. That is some of the things going on if you just woke up. yapping about it here on the game. I will pop back in. Firehouse Subtext, the hour 803-404-6100. Maybe we'll talk about, South Carolina, what's going on with the lack of opt-outs, which is a good thing so far. What's going on with the transfer portal or your favorite Pop-Tart. Feel free. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford, thanks for hanging out with us. We go till 3 here on the game. Time to get our Firehouse Subtext the hour in, and we have Texases of the hour. They're all about Pop-Tarts and toaster strudel. So forget the sports. Screw that. Let's just talk Pop-Tarts. First of all, I had a couple saying, yeah, Tara, I love the frosted strawberry. One texter, unnamed, says, I hated the frosted strawberry, hated all the frosted. I like the unfrosted. Okay, it's all good. I always just like the frosted better. Bunch of folks giving us their favorite Pop-Tarts. Got some cherry. A cherry was solid. I mean, I like the cherry. Cherry's good. I go with the cherry. Blueberry. Yeah, we got a couple blueberries here. And a raspberry or two. Yeah, I like those too. Yep, they're all solid. I like the old school, just the flavor. We had a couple in here with the s'mores. I'm not feeling the s'mores. Just not. Not feeling the s'mores. Or the chocolate. I mean, I love chocolate. Pretty much chocolate everything. I would eat chocolate dog biscuits, okay? I love chocolate. But the chocolate Pop-Tarts, for some reason, I don't know. I like the fruit-flavored ones better. Someone hit me up. Have you tried the Snickerdoodle? No, I have not. Or another texter, I just tried the Funfetti this week. They're the bomb. Yeah, maybe I'll give the Snickerdoodle and confetti ones a shot. I've never tried either one. I'm just real old school with my Pop-Tarts. I love the strawberry frosted. I just do. Another text. You have to try the chocolatey chip pancake Pop-Tarts. Now, do they taste like chocolate chips? Do they taste like pancakes? Yeah, help me out with that. That does sound interesting. Won't lie. And I got another one here. I haven't tried them yet, but I saw them in the grocery store. Cinnamon roll Pop-Tarts. I like cinnamon rolls. Now, some things in life, though, just because you like this certain thing doesn't mean it mixes with other stuff. Like, I'll be honest, I love coffee. I love ice cream. I don't like coffee ice cream. I know, it makes no sense. Because I do. I love coffee. If I didn't drink it, my head would explode. And I love ice cream. But I don't like coffee ice cream. So there's some things just don't like cinnamon buns. I love cinnamon buns. I mean, not as much as Dave. Dave's on a cinnamon bun only diet. But I love cinnamon buns. Love Pop-Tarts. I don't know if I'd love a cinnamon roll Pop-Tart. I might have to try it, though, just to see what I think. But I appreciate all the texts about Pop-Tarts and your favorites. And, of course, we were doing this in honor of the Pop-Tart Bowl. Also, some good texting about toaster strudel. Yeah, I love toaster strudel, man. But you know what I need? I won't lie to you. I need more frosting. I need more icing. They don't give me enough icing for my toaster strudel. I mean, I'm digging in there trying to get all the icing out. I'm breaking open a little plastic and wiping it all over the place because I need more icing. Yeah, I'm the guy that licks all the icing off the cake thing before we throw it away. I love icing. I need more icing with my toaster strudel, but toaster strudel is fantastic. Yeah, we got a lot of votes, thumbs up on the toaster strudel. Here's one unnamed texter. Man, I wish I would have had that when we were kids. Screw the Pop-Tarts. I won't lie. As much as I love a good Pop-Tart, toaster strudel's next level if you do it right. Can't burn it, then they suck. Just like Pop-Tarts. Then you burn your tongue and your mouth on the Pop-Tart. Never good. Well, you make the toaster strudel right. I'd probably pick the toaster strudel over the Pop-Tarts if I had to go with one or the other. But thank you for all the text on the Pop-Tarts and the toaster strudel. I greatly appreciate it. At 803-404-6100. It's been an interesting season so far in the coaching carousel in college football. And we've seen you can go home again, or maybe you can go home again. We'll find out. With Rich Rodriguez going back to West Virginia, Scott Frost heading back to Central Florida. I think they both can have winning records. I don't think neither one will be as successful as they were the first time around. I just don't. I mean, Rich Rod almost played for a national championship at his alma mater. And Scott Frost, remember, they were the quote-unquote wink-wink national champions at Central Florida because they were undefeated. I don't know if either one of those guys can reach those heights again. I think they can get those programs back to winning. I mean, Gus Malzahn was solid until they got into the Big 12 the last couple of years, and then things started to slip a little bit. Malzahn smelled the hot seat coming and said, you know what? I think I want to be the offensive coordinator of Florida State. And, of course, Scott Frost has been on the beach since he got, kicked to the curb by Nebraska. I think, Central Florida can be a perennial bowl team. I think West Virginia should be a perennial bowl team. And I think Rich Rodriguez can do that. Rich Rodriguez is a good coach. He just had some issues. But as a coach, he's good. Look what he's done. Look what he's done in Jacksonville State in a short period of time. But I just don't know if he can get back to getting West Virginia in the college football playoff. Maybe. I don't know. The Big 12 is just, it's whacked, right? But I just don't know Rich Rod was really successful. No one was running that spread offense that Rich Rodriguez was running. Remember, he spread you out and then ran the ball. Now other teams do it in many different forms. So it's not as bougie as it used to be. Never used that word before in my life till right now. Man, I'm tired. I need some sleep. But I think Rich Rod can get West Virginia to being a team that can, have winning records and go to bowl games and maybe every now and then really contend for something. Because Rich Rod's a good coach. I just don't think he can get West Virginia to the height that was when he left to go to Michigan. It's funny. I wonder if you say, hey, Rich, you get a do-over. You get in the hot tub time machine, you can do that again. Would he do it? Probably. They paid him a lot of dough. Yeah, it didn't work out, but man, your bank account looks good. The winner was your bank account. You weren't the winner. Michigan wasn't the winner. Your bank account won. And Scott Frost, of course, you'd leave Central Florida to go to your alma mater. That's a no-brainer. We'll see where those go. I think Dan Mullen to UNLV is a home run for Vegas. I really do. I think Mullen's going to do really well. All right, football in the 1 o'clock hour coming up next here on the Halftime Show on the Game. Halftime show with Terry Ford. It is football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. Gamecocks, we're trying to keep you updated as much as we can. Nothing new in the portal, whether it's Justice Haynes, Casey Concepcion. There is obviously visits going on. We will go back and update you on any information we get from that. Justice Haynes supposed to be visiting today and tomorrow. There's a list, and we'll get back to that. A few today, and there's, again, scheduled for the week. We'll see where it takes South Carolina. Again, no one else has put their name in the portal from South Carolina in the last couple of days, so we will keep you up to date with all that. San Francisco 49ers plan to suspend Devondre Campbell 3 games for refusing to enter Thursday night's contest against the Rams. That's what sources told ESPN. The suspension is for conduct detrimental to the team. It was first reported by the NFL Network. It should end Campbell's season. So I guess that's the way to handle it now. And look, the 49ers obviously has looked at this in every way possible they can. There's a lot of ramifications. Like for me, again, if I'm the head coach, you don't want to go in the game and go, okay, Bob, tell you what, why don't you leave the field now and walk out to, go get your stuff out of the locker room, go out the players' entrance, stand there. We will have an Uber pick you up and take you to the airport, and I never want to see you again in my life. So I'm guessing there are other implications, which there are. The team had the option of cutting Campbell, which would allow him to go on waivers and potentially sign with the team to play out the rest of the season. A suspension would possibly allow the 49ers to recoup some of the $3.35 million signing bonus they gave Campbell when he signed a one-year, $5 million deal in March. So that's the method of the madness here. You do two things. A, you suspend him, means he can't play for anybody else the rest of the year. He can sit and stew. And two, you can go and try to recoup some of that $3.35 million you obviously flushed down the toilet when you brought Campbell in. So at the end of the day, that's how the 49ers will handle it. And it makes sense once you kind of break it down a little bit. So, again, it's just been a rough year in San Francisco. A team that is, risen above injuries and all sorts of stuff the last few years to make it to the Super Bowl twice, losing twice to the Chiefs. Last year in overtime. But this year, again, a ton of injuries. Christian McCaffrey being out really hurt this team. But it also, I think, showed the 49ers what they knew. Look, Brock Purdy has been a fine point guard quarterback. He's not a game manager, even though he does manage the game well. In the context of the 49ers, what they are about and what they need from the quarterback position, Brock Purdy did just fine. He was a point guard. Passed the ball to the shooters. The Deebo Samuels, the Brandon Ayuks, the Christian McCaffreys, the George Kittles. Get the ball in the hands of those guys and get out of the way. And Brock Purdy did that, and when they were all healthy together, that offense hummed, and the 49ers won games because their defense was also very good. But offensively, without McCaffrey, he's kind of the trigger man. Yeah, you had other running backs who, could gain yards, and that run game is built for almost any running back to go gain yards. But McCaffrey brings a special skill set, like Liam Neeson. And you just can't replicate that with the running backs you have. And it really hurt that offense. And Brandon Ayuk blowing his ACL hurt the offense. Because then you didn't have that, that big play guy from the receiver position. Deebo Samuel is kind of a weapon, right? He's not a traditional wide receiver even though he plays the position. George Kittle's a freak at tight end, but without Ayuk, without McCaffrey, it really hurt this offense because the offense is built around a bunch of playmakers and a quarterback that gets him the ball. Asking Brock Purdy to do more than Brock Purdy can do, that becomes an issue because there's throws on the field Brock Purdy can't make. He can't make consistently make the deep out or the deep comeback. There's some throws that Purdy does really well with, and Kyle Shanahan schemes up to that. And Brock Purdy's done a very nice job in his role in San Francisco. Look, I was totally wrong. I didn't think this Brock Purdy thing would last. But now is going to come time to pay Brock Purdy. I don't think the 49ers are going to pay him A-level franchise quarterback money. If Purdy would take the deal the 49ers want to offer for the cap money they're willing to put out there, if they would even give Purdy an offer, then Purdy would stay. I think Kyle Shanahan says, look, we got money invested in all the playmakers. We need another point guard quarterback. Now, that works to a certain level, but at some point you need a franchise quarterback. You just do. It's tough to win a Super Bowl with just that point guard quarterback, because at some point your quarterback has got to step up and make some plays. So we'll see what San Francisco does moving forward. It looks like there will be no postseason in San Francisco unless they can win their last 3 games, 4 games. So we'll see. But it feels like the 49ers will be out of the playoffs. Then what are they going to do about some of their guys? Debo this year hasn't been kind to Debo Samuel. He hasn't been the dude he usually is. Ayuk again blew out his knee. McCaffrey's been hurt, won't be ready to go till next year. What are you going to do about Brock Purdy? You got to do stuff about your offensive line as well. Your best offensive lineman, Trent Williams could be the best left tackle in football, but he's also, mid to late 30s now? And defensively, you've fallen a notch or two. So what are you going to do? It'll be interesting. The Lions, speaking of injuries, it just keeps happening. David Montgomery out indefinitely after suffering a sprained MCL in the 48-42 loss to Buffalo, according to Adam Schefter. Montgomery will undergo additional testing on the knee and get a second opinion. There are some in the Lions organization that think Montgomery will be lost for the year. It's just, it's a shame. The Lions are a Super Bowl caliber outfit, but just are a ton of injuries now, especially on defense. This is the first big offensive injury because David Montgomery, to go with Jahmyr Gibbs, is a phenomenal 1-2 punch. Just really is in the running game. The offensive line is good. The Lions can run it and beat you. They can throw it and beat you. And now they're starting to get the injuries on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, obviously, they lost Aiden Hutchinson. They've also lost Alum McNeil, defensive tackle with a torn ACL. Carlton Davis, the corner, suffered a fractured jaw in the loss on Sunday. They lost Khalil Dorsey. The list just keeps going on and on. They've lost some dudes in the linebacker room. It's sad because the Lions are a Super Bowl caliber football team. And that loss to Buffalo, I get it's a week-by-week league. Everybody wants to jump to conclusions after every Sunday and Monday and Thursday. But the Lions, if they could find a way to get this thing healthy, are the best team in the NFC along with the Eagles. If the Eagles throw the ball like they did on Sunday, they're dangerous. Because they're really good on defense, and obviously they can run it with Saquon Barkley. If they can get their passing game together, all of a sudden the Eagles are a legit threat to the Detroit Lions. But the Lions are it's tons of injuries. Tons of injuries. So that's obviously another shot to the Lions is David Montgomery. All right, flipping over to college football, we talked a little bit about the AP All-America list with Nicky Manwari, first team at defensive back, Kyle Kennard at second team on the edge. Other big names on the first team on offense. The young fellow, Tatoria McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona. Nick Nash, wide receiver, San Jose State. Xavier Restrepo, the Miami wide receiver who was phenomenal this year, also makes first team. Kelvin Banks, the big offensive tackle from Texas, his first team along with Will Campbell from LSU. Remember, Will Campbell got tied in knots by the South Carolina edge rushers when LSU and South Carolina played. Quarterbacks, Cam Ward. Ashton Jeanty is one running back and obviously deserves it. Cam Scatabo of Arizona State, the other running back, he obviously deserves it as well. All-purpose is Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner. On defense, we talk about Abdul Carter, Penn State on the edge. Mason Graham, Michigan defensive tackle. Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas, his first team. Travis Hunter, first team corner. So Travis Hunter, first team all-purpose on offense and first team corner on defense. And like we said, Nick Amenwori, first team defensive back. So it's obviously a lot of SEC, like always, on the AP All-America team. The second team quarterback, by the way, Shedeur Sanders. Marion Hampton, North Carolina, who just jumped into the NFL draft. North Carolina running back, second in the nation in rushing, second team. Caleb Johnson, excellent running back from Iowa, is also second team as well. And the second team wide receiver, Travis Hunter, ready, first team all-purpose on offense, second team wide receiver on offense, first team corner on defense. Trey Harris, wide receiver from Ole Miss, also his second team. If Trey Harris could have stayed healthy, he probably would have been first team All-American. Harris had a bunch of injury issues. And the wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, makes the second team as a wide receiver. And another SEC dude, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, makes first team defense on the interior. So, just a ton. Wide receiver wise, it's very interesting. I don't see the name Ryan Williams of Alabama anywhere. Remember, Ryan Williams popped early in the year. I remember he came college a year early, but as the season went on, his production went down. Man, I don't see him anywhere on the first three teams. So, just very interesting. So that's it's out the AP All-America team. I wanted to go to that kind of more of a deeper dive as we talked about Kennard and Amenwori making it. We wanted to get you to the rest of the folks there. It's football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We will take a look at what happened yesterday in the NFL. Huge game in Detroit. We talked about it a little bit, where the playoff picture is. There's no committee. No NFL playoff committee, which is good news. We'll take a look at the playoff picture as well and kind of yip a bit about what went on in the NFL yesterday and also what's going to go on 2 Monday night games tonight. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. Wednesday, Gamecock Central will take over the Firehouse Subs in Casey right there on Knox Abbott. If you're coming from Columbia, downtown, it's on the right-hand side. Really nice place. We've been there a few times. Nice, shiny new just a couple years ago. So we'll be out there from 9 to noon on Wednesday. So come out and say hey. See what's up. Grab a sub. Firehouse Subs, phenomenal. All right, what happened in the NFL yesterday? We'll get to that on the halftime show next. Terry Ford, appreciate you just kind of sitting around with us. We roll till 3 on the game. We got football going in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the game. Terry Ford hanging out with you till 3. Special women's basketball game this Thursday, 11:30 pregame, noon tip on 107.5 The Game in Columbia. Against Charleston Southern again Thursday. Special start time, 11:30 pregame with Brad Muller on the call. Brad Muller does the play-by-play. His color analyst will be Brad Muller, and his sideline on-court reporter is Brad Muller. So we will have that 11:30 pregame, noon tip on Thursday against Charleston Southern on 107.5 The Game in Columbia. All right, so the NFL yesterday, we talked about the Lions and the Bills and a game just... Jared Goff threw for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, and the Lions lost. That's how bad their defense was and how good the Buffalo offense was, because Josh Allen went crazy. The last couple of weeks, Josh Allen has been insane. How well he's been playing. Hasn't been turning the ball over, making really smart decisions, knows when to go for it and when to take his foot off the gas. Josh Allen for years was forget all gas, no brakes. There wasn't even a brake in the car. And Josh Allen is just... he plays smarter. He's a better game manager than he used to be to go with all that playmaking ability. And that the Bills on offense are just rolling right now. And they win 48-42 in Detroit. Does that mean anything about the Lions? It just means that they got a lot of injuries, and defensively they're just having trouble. You go up against a high-level offense like Buffalo and your defense is all beat up, it's not a surprise that Buffalo almost put a 50-burger on them. But now, if Minnesota wins tonight, they'll be tied for first in the NFC North with the Detroit Lions. Other big game yesterday, the Eagles and Steelers went at it in Philadelphia. A couple weeks ago, the Eagles went to Baltimore and physically beat up the Ravens and beat up the Ravens on the scoreboard. Yesterday, Philadelphia beat up the Eagles on beat up the Steelers on the scoreboard and beat up the Steelers. So the Eagles physically smacked around two of the most physical teams in the NFL in the last month. What the Eagles did yesterday was threw the football. There's been a lot of issues and a lot of stuff going on about their lack of success in the passing game. Well, they got it cooking yesterday because you're not going to beat the Steelers by running the ball 50 times down their throat. Matter of fact, the Eagles ran it 42 times yesterday and only gained 3.1 yards a carry. You're just not going to bludgeon Pittsburgh in the run game this year. You got to throw it to beat them, and Philadelphia did. Philadelphia's got 2 high-level wide receivers in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown might be the best wide receiver in the NFL. Combined, those two dudes went for 19 grabs over 200 yards yesterday. If Philadelphia can throw the football to go with Saquon Barkley running it, to go with that defense that has come alive, the Eagles could beat Detroit in the NFC. They could. But Jalen Hurts hasn't been this quarterback consistently since the Super Bowl year. And really, there's not a lot of excuses. I'm just being honest. Philly's got a run game. Philly's got high-level receiving talent. Throw in Dallas Goedert, the tight end, when healthy. The offensive line is solid. There's no reason Philadelphia should struggle in the passing game. But it goes back to two people, the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, and the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. If you look at open scores, A.J. Brown is I think, he's in the top 5 in the NFL in getting open. Wasn't getting the ball. Devontae Smith is in the top 30, I believe, in getting open. Not consistently getting the ball either. Well, if you got an offensive line that's solid in pass protection, you have a running game that can keep you balanced. You also have a back that can catch a ball out of the backfield. You have 2 high-level wide receivers. You have a solid tight end. What's the problem in the passing game? But it wasn't yesterday. Jalen Hurts, to his credit, was really good. And Philadelphia, a nice multiple score win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Eagles, telling you, man, they can throw it like that. They're something. And now the Steelers, a game up on the Ravens. They will play the Ravens this coming Saturday. Yeah, the Ravens win, then there's a tie in the AFC North. Also, Patrick Mahomes hurt his ankle in the Chiefs' 21-7 win over the Browns. Chiefs were up 21-0. It's the first time the Chiefs have been up by 3 scores all year. Look, they're 13-1. Give them their props, man. But it's the worst 13-1 team you'll ever see. But they just keep posting W's. And until somebody beats them, they're the best team in football. They just are. Joe Burrow, we talk about how good of a year Josh Allen's having. Joe Burrow's having a stupid season. If the Cincinnati Bengals were a playoff team, Burrow would be in the talk for MVP. I hear this stuff, though, Joe Burrow hasn't done enough to help his team. Huh? Go through the games, the Bengals games they've lost. There's not much more Joe Burrow can do. Joe Burrow can't play defense. The defense is atrocious. He can give up 27 to the pathetic Titans yesterday. Just the defense is bad. It's not Joe Burrow. Is he perfect? No, but the reason the Bengals are 6-8 isn't because of Joe Burrow and that offense. That's for sure. Another guy killing it. Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdown passes yesterday. I'm just wondering, does it really count if it's against the Giants? They're awful. Lamar had more touchdown passes than incompletions. He was 21 of 25. 4 incompletions, 5 touchdown passes. Just a sick game. The Giants are winless at home. They're 2-12. They'll have a new head coach. And possibly a new GM. And again, it's just not working. It's not working. Commanders are 9-5. They eke out a win over the Saints. Spencer Rattler came in this game, by the way, and had some decent moments. Ended up throwing a touchdown pass, cut the margin to 1. Saints went for the 2-point conversion in the win, couldn't convert it. Commanders hold on for dear life and win 20-19. 9-5 on the year is Washington. It's unbelievable when you get the quarterback right. Now that punchline of a franchise isn't a punchline this year. Plus, you ran off your toxic owner. And the Bengals, another joke forever, got the quarterback position right. Actually got to a Super Bowl, despite their owner. Yeah, the Cowboys beat the Panthers. So, if I'm a Cowboy fan, this is annoying me because you're not going to make the playoffs unless some miracle happens. All you're doing is making your draft pick worse. Got a buddy who's a Cowboy fan. He's like, I want them to lose every game. I want the best draft pick possible. Nope, Cowboys are now 6-8 after they beat the Panthers in Carolina. Also in the late games, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Got to give them their credit, man. They dusted off Baker Mayfield. He's now a real franchise quarterback in the NFL. Had another fine day. Bucks all of a sudden can run the ball down your throat. We talk about physical football teams. The Chargers under Jim Harbaugh have become a physical football team. The Buccaneers went in, hold my beer, and beat the snot out of them. Outscored the Chargers 27-0 in the second half, 140-17. That was an impressive win for Tampa Bay. And the Packers, last night, they beat the Seahawks 30-13. The big story of this game is Geno Smith hurt, has a knee injury. Seahawks will have that evaluated today, and they better hope it's all right. If not, they got to turn the keys over to Sam Howell. Oh. And again, this is coming into the game cold, to be fair, but Sam Howell went 5 of 14 last night for 24 yards. Yep. One throw to Christian Watson by Jordan Love went for 36 yards. Sam Howell, 5 of 14, 24 yards and a pick. You're hoping Geno Smith comes back if you're Seattle. If not, because they're fighting for the division title in the NFC West. All right, here's a little trip around the NFL during football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Terry Ford, thanks for just kind of buddying around with us. We'll look at the college football playoff, kind of examine that. That's coming up Friday. First game in South Bend with Indiana and Notre Dame. So we'll take a look at some of those games and just that bracket of where it could go. Maybe the games you're excited about this weekend, some you're not. Could there be an upset? Could there be multiple upsets? We'll yip about the college football playoff bracket coming up next during football again. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We do it in the 1 o'clock hour every day here on the Halftime Show on the Game. What we're talking about is what we always talk about in the 1 o'clock hour. Football, more football. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Terry Ford, halftime show. Thanks for chilling with us as we go till 3. Then Jay Phillips by himself today on the postgame show. David Cloninger will be hanging around. I think Derek Scott's on the show. So that is today at 3 with Jay here on the game. All right, so I look at this college football playoff bracket, and we've had the conversations about how the seeding is, and in the future, hopefully this will happen, but you never know with committees, that if you win your conference championship game, you will get an automatic bid into the playoff, but you're not going to get a top 4 seed because that really doesn't make sense. I mean, Georgia and Oregon should be the top 2 seeds. But then you look around and you think, probably Texas and either a Penn State, a Notre Dame, Ohio State, whoever. That should be the top 4. Boise State shouldn't be there, and neither should Arizona State. Glad they're in. Hopefully, look, I'd love to see Boise State and Arizona State do some damage, but they shouldn't be a top 4 seed with a bye. That's all I'm saying. But it makes for some juicy matchups starting on Friday, 8 o'clock. Indiana, Notre Dame. I think this is going to be the biggest snoozer of the bunch. Notre Dame wants to bore you to death. They want to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. They play really good defense. They don't throw it a lot. They're not going to be winging it all over the yard. They want to pound you into submission. Indiana's been a good defensive team this year, but I just have the feeling Indiana is not going to have the ball that much. And their defense is going to eventually start wearing down, and Notre Dame will win a slog by a couple of scores. Don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for Indiana, believe me. I just think Notre Dame will win. Here's one that could be an upset. Noon on Saturday on TNT, number 11 SMU going to number 6 Penn State. James Franklin, big game James, we say with a wink wink, because James Franklin doesn't win big games. Well, this is the last time I checked, the college football playoff's a big game. SMU is very talented, and they hadn't played in a game of that magnitude in the ACC championship since they were the Pony Express with Eric Dickerson and Chris James, or Craig James. Chris James, the guy I worked with years ago. Anyway, so that's the last time SMU was really a factor in the national conversation before the death penalty. So SMU came out and played like a team that hadn't played in a big game in decades, right? Against Clemson. Caught up, tied the game, and then forgot how to cover a kick. So, but SMU, hopefully they got the big game jitters out of their system. Again, a talented team, a lot of speed on offense, some playmaking ability. Defensively, they're very opportunistic. They force turnovers. If Penn State screws around in this thing early, SMU could get them. So, this one will be interesting. I mean, would it surprise anybody if Tennessee beat Ohio State at the Horseshoe? No. Ohio State seems psychologically damaged right now. They lost a game they never thought they were going to lose to Michigan. There was no way a mediocre Michigan team that is allergic to throwing the forward pass was going to beat this loaded Ohio State roster in Columbus. No way, right? Way. Yeah. So I think Ohio State is teetering on issues. And Ryan Day can get up and say the right things here lately. Everything is still in front of us and we can still win a national championship and we're still in the playoff. I mean, that's great, but do you really believe that, and does your team believe that? Or do you guys feel like you kind of lost your way when you sat there and let a barely 500 Michigan team just out-physical you for 4 quarters in your house, in front of your family and friends? If Tennessee starts early and Ohio State has to punt a little bit and the Volunteers can get a lead, that could be a very interesting football game. Because, again, Tennessee runs the ball. And it's an offense, the type of offense Ohio State, to my recollection, hasn't played that type of offense that you're going to see with Tennessee. And if Nico, and look, Nico didn't have as good a year as everybody thought he was going to have, quarterback in the Volunteers, but only threw 5 picks. If Nico can stay clean and not make any mistakes, Tennessee might just walk out of there with a win. I just think, and Texas at home, that's a tall chore for Clemson against the Longhorns in Austin. Yes, Clemson has all the big game experience, and Dabo has won a lot more big games than Steve Sarkisian has as a head coach. I just think Texas wins. They're just better. I think the boring game, if you said, okay, the boring game to me is going to be, like I said, Notre Dame, Indiana. If I got to pick one upset, I take SMU over Penn State. 'Cause I don't think Tennessee beating Ohio State's that gigantic of an upset. Ohio State's a 7-point favorite. But it's the 8-9 game. And we saw Ohio State's beatable at home. So I think Tennessee could win. I think Tennessee will cover the 7. SMU, to me, if I got to pick one game where I think is most likely to see an upset, I could see the 11th seeded SMU Mustangs go to Penn State and get that win. I could see that happening. So there's my thoughts. And again, if you're the Clemson-Texas winner, you get Arizona State. Look, Arizona, not saying Arizona State you're going to walk right over them, but out of these matchups of the 4 seeded top 4 seeds with the byes, you'd rather play Boise State and Arizona State than Oregon and Georgia. Duh. Even if Georgia's got to go with Gunner at quarterback instead of Carson Beck. So if you can get Arizona State, you're Clemson or Texas, and you get Arizona State, you're like, all right, we'll take that. Just like if you're SMU or Penn State, you win. Now you get Boise State. Now you got to stop Ashton Jeanty, obviously. But if you can find a way to slow that guy down and force Boise State to have to throw the football, that's your formula. Easier said than done. But you would rather play Boise State again than Georgia or Oregon. The winner of Indiana Notre Dame gets Georgia, and your hope is you get the backup quarterback for Georgia. It gets that feel. I tell you, I mean, I look at Oregon, like we just talked about Georgia with the issue of a backup quarterback. Watching Oregon get run over by Penn State in the run game in that Big Ten championship tilt, that kind of gave me a little concern on Oregon. Look, either Tennessee or Penn State, whoever wins can run the ball. Ohio State, I'm sorry. Tennessee, Ohio State. Both those teams can run the rock. And could they, just run the ball all over the Ducks? Could happen. Just saying. And again, Georgia might be starting a backup quarterback. So this thing could go all kooky before it's over with. We'll see. That's some thoughts on the college football playoff that will be starting again Friday night. Get ready. Look, we're all stoked as college football fans. This is going to be fun. This is, honest to God, going to be fun. 4 games to sit and just stuff our face and consume alcoholic beverages. Or non-alcoholic. That's the way you roll. So it's going to be fun. Absolutely going to be fun. There's going to be big ratings. And especially like that Friday night game, Notre Dame, Indiana, that's going to pull a number. Absolutely going to pull a number. But so will the Saturday contest. I mean, you are going up against the NFL on Saturday. Keep that in mind. And a pretty big-time game. But it's Netflix. I do believe. Get my memory in what it used to be, man. Let me double-check it. Let me double-check this baby. I do believe you get the following week. I'm sorry. I think you're safe. Hold on, let me see. Nope, Saturday you get Ravens Steelers and you get Chiefs and Texans. So you get Ravens Steelers, the best rivalry in the NFL, at 4:30 on Fox, and the 1 o'clock game, NBC Peacock. You get Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs against C.J. Stroud and the Texans. It's going to be interesting to see what these ratings are going to be like for college football with this playoff going up against the NFL. Remember, the thought process was how do you get around going up against the NFL, and college football went, screw it, here we come. So it's going to be fun to see what these ratings look like. It really is. But it's going to be a fun weekend for college if you're a college football fan. It really is. But if you're a football fan in general, just sit there, have multiple TVs or multiple devices, or just have your thumb ready and get set for your carpal tunnel. It's going to be a good time. Very good time. All right. It's a halftime show. We're doing football in the 1 o'clock hour. It's our text the hour coming up next. from Firehouse Subs, 803-404-6100. It is the halftime show. Terry Porter rolling solo. Tyler will be back tomorrow here on The Game. Oh, time for our Firehouse Sub text, the hour 803-404-6100. One texter talking about the AP All-America team where Nick Emanwari was first-team defensive back, Kyle Kennard second-team edge. Like, I get it because he's just a freshman, but man, that Dylan Stewart was something else off the edge. Future All-American, question mark? I mean, Dylan Stewart keeps playing the way he did his freshman year, and he gains more experience. He gets even bigger and stronger and learns his craft even more coming off the edge. Yeah, absolutely could be an All-American. Dylan Stewart, if he continues on the arc he started, will easily be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. You can't teach that bend. He just bends coming around the edge. I mean, that bend is something. And, you know, he's not a one-trick pony. He's got, and again, he's going to get better and he's going to learn more and his experience and his technique and all that. But he's just not, I'm going to beat you with my athleticism or my bend. He also has some, he has some pass rush moves. Again, he's learning and he'll get better, but he's obviously the real deal coming off the edge. We talked about this during the season. There were teams double-teaming Dylan Stewart and leaving Kyle Kennard one-on-one on the other side. That's how much they were scared of Stewart. And Stewart had one of the best pass rush grades in the country. Forget freshmen, but anybody. Yes, Stewart can be a game wrecker. It'd be great if South Carolina could add another, add a pass rusher coming off the edge or have one develop off the edge to complement Stewart like they had last year with Kennard. Because you saw teams, what are you going to do? Either you go up against them both one-on-one, or if you double one or chip one, you're going to leave the other one-on-one, and, your quarterback could end up in the hospital. So, again, that's the perfect world, right? You got two edge rushers, both knocking the snot out of quarterbacks. But yeah, Dylan Stewart, you're right, Texter. He's future All-American, absolutely. If he continues, if he builds upon what we saw his freshman year, which is all freshman team stuff and freshman All-American stuff, it should just get better and better and better. Also, 803-404-6100, our Firehouse subtext of the hour. Texter says, we're talking about the NFL. And with the Eagles, he's like, so I guess there'll be no belly aching and whining this week with the Eagles. No, there won't be. No, we talked about this, that, A.J. Brown didn't do it correctly. But I get A.J. Brown's frustration. You don't let it bubble over into the media and let the world hear it or see it. But you're getting open. Again, A.J. Brown gets open more than just about any wide receiver in the league. He's not getting the ball. After a while, you get tired of getting open and not getting the ball. For whatever the reason is, you're doing your job. They're just not getting it to you. A.J. Brown might be the best all-around wide receiver in the NFL. Now, again, he handled it poorly, but once you dive into it a little bit, you see, this dude just isn't getting the rock. And he's starting to get frustrated. He's doing what he's supposed to do, which is get open. And we talked about this a little while ago. The Eagles actually threw the ball really well yesterday. No team throws the ball less than Philadelphia. They throw it on 43.65% of their plays. Far and away the least amount in the NFL. Most teams are at least balanced. The football is thrown in the NFL roughly about 57% of the time. Teams only run the ball about 43%. The Eagles are the complete opposite. They run it at almost 57% and throw it a bit over 43%. But here's something that's very interesting. I was looking this up before the show. Let me go over these teams real quick. Philadelphia, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Washington, Detroit, San Francisco, Buffalo, Arizona. What do all these teams have in common? I'll even go higher. Indianapolis, Minnesota. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What do those 11 teams have in common? They're either going to be playoff teams or they're competing to be playoff teams. Those teams are the top 11 in amount of running the football or percentage of running the football. Now, again, Minnesota, they throw it 54% of the time. Indianapolis, 54%. Arizona, 53%. Buffalo, 52%. San Francisco, 52%. Detroit, 52%. Washington, 50%. Baltimore, about 50%. Pittsburgh, about 49%. So the point is they're balanced. But these are the teams that run the ball the most in the NFL. And besides Philly, it's all almost a 50-50 mix. So in this era of throwing the football, The teams that still are the most balanced are the most successful on offense. And part of that is, in some way, shape, or form, their defense holds up. So they don't have to just throw it all over the place to play catch up. But they're balanced. Because again, if I can beat you running it, beat you throwing it, I can mix it up. You don't know what I'm doing or what down and distance because I'm good at both. That's still the formula. Even in today's throw it 57% of the time, if you can be balanced to where you can do both, that's a good recipe for a successful offense, which helps you be a successful team. I just thought that was interesting when I saw that today. But thank you for the text messages. We appreciate them very much. At 803-404-6100 on the Firehouse sub text line. Like I said, we do football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We've talked a ton about the NFL and college football. It's really interesting. Yes, college football, the calendar's a mess, right? But you know what? Here's the thing. How about all the talk about college football in December? I mean, the NFL is king. We get it. But how much conversation is done about college football in the month of December? I mean, it's clunky, but hey, they're getting publicity. There's no doubt. All right, what's trending at 2? Coming up next, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions right here on the Halftime Show on the Game. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you just sitting around with us up until 3 o'clock here on the Game Post-Game Show. Jay Phillips rolling solo today. Elijah taking the day off. A special guest for Jay Phillips today in the 5 o'clock hour. Should be interesting. We'll talk more about that. Also, David Cloninger on the show and Derek Scott. And again, a special guest on with Jay. That's a tease right there, man. Okay. I'll tell you who it is. Jeremiah Donati, the new athletic director. There you go. That's 5 o'clock today with Jay Phillips. 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, David Cloninger, and 4 o'clock, Derek Scott as well as the new athletic director at 5 o'clock with Jay here on the postgame show. All right, so as we continue to dig around to see if there's anything new about transfer portal news and information for South Carolina, nothing new yet. Obviously, Nick Sharp committed. He is in, the offensive lineman from Wake Forest. Had a good year last season for the Demon Deacons. Pro Football Focus grades over 70, both run blocking and pass protection. That's a thumbs up. And, of course, Jalen Brown, edge pass rusher from Missouri, very raw, young talent, multiple years of eligibility left. He is also committed to South Carolina as well. Visiting today is Justice Haynes. I do believe it's today. Yep, today and tomorrow. The top-rated running back in the transfer portal from Alabama. Also today, Omega Blake. You remember Omega Blake? The Omega Blake is back. He's in the portal. So, Omega Blake is visiting after leaving, getting some much-needed experience, having some productivity. And now Omega Blake doing a visit with South Carolina today. Tomorrow on the list will be Zach Atkins, tight end from Northwest Missouri State. A very interesting dude, Andrew Jones, linebacker from Grambling. Tentatively, Kelby Collins, who South Carolina recruited out of high school. He went to Florida, did Collins, 4-star kid. Has a couple years of eligibility left. He played the interior and the edge on defense for Florida. He will be tentatively visiting tomorrow. So that's where everything is at there. Nothing new on Casey Concepcion, the North Carolina State wide receiver. We talk about Dane Key a lot. Doesn't seem like Dane Key is going to end up at South Carolina. All the rumors and rumblings does not have him becoming a Gamecock or coming in for a visit. So that's the spiel there with what's going on with the transfer portal in South Carolina. James Franklin talking about the transfer portal today. Franklin defended his backup quarterback, Bo Pribula, who entered the portal on Monday, says he's going to leave the team before the college football playoff. Franklin said, we got problems in college football, and that Pribula should not be put in this position. I agree. I think we all agree. Players agree. Coaches agree. Nobody wants, this is, again, the calendar has to change. We've been talking about this for a while now. And now you have a player, a backup quarterback, not a starter, not Drew Aller, but the backup, Bo Pribula, who is used in certain packages and is an experienced backup if, God forbid, Aller would get hurt. Pribula, because he wants to go start somewhere. He hits the portal. And if you wait till after the college football playoff, your chances of getting a starting gig obviously diminish. So Pribula put in a weird situation, says, you know what? I'm going to go in the portal because I got to get a heads up on trying to find a starting job. And I understand that. But it's a bad look. It just is. It's a bad look when you walk away from your team when you're getting ready to start preparing for a college football playoff game. And now if Aller does get hurt, Penn State's going to their third stringer. And you had a special package of plays for Pribula that you're most likely not going to be using now. So, I mean, is it going to crush you? No. But it does, make it a little bit more difficult to game plan to get ready for SMU. Because now you're losing one of the, tricks in your bag, so to speak. But no, a player should be put in this position. We've said it over and over again today. This is like, players leaving for free agency before the NFL postseason would start. Of course it wouldn't happen. That's asinine and stupid and ridiculous. Well, so is this. And people want to blame the kid because, again, that's what people do. But no, it's the system. It's the system that needs to be changed. And again, everybody drags their feet or pick another body part instead of getting anything done in college athletics. And this is just another example. This is not like, well, didn't see this coming. Of course you did. If you had any, vision, you would understand that you've got to change your calendar. You got recruiting, you got early signing in December, you got transfer portal in December, you got bowl games, you got playoff games. You've got coaches getting hired and fired, and it's craziness. Like what happened at Marshall should never happen. It's all just, it's ridiculous, is what it is. So James Franklin is not wrong. And by the way, speaking of Penn State, Drew Aller, the starting quarterback, will return to the Nittany Lions in 2025. That makes sense. He wants to improve his draft stock. Now, Aller got better this year, but he still has a ways to go to get himself, up in the higher parts of the NFL draft. By the way, speaking of quarterbacks, North Texas quarterback Chandler Morris commits to Virginia. Morris played really well at North Texas State. Virginia really struggled on offense. So, and again, Morris isn't the most physical specimen in the world, but threw 31 touchdown passes last year. That was fourth nationally, behind some guy named Shedeur Sanders, some dude named Cam Ward, and some fellow named Cade Klubnik. And Morris was fifth nationally, throwing for 314 yards a game. And he has 1 year of eligibility left as Chandler Morris. He's been all over the place. Started at Oklahoma, went to TCU, played a bit at TCU, then went to North Texas. And now he'll be with school number 4. Also, we haven't got a chance to really get into this a lot, but yesterday in a game that was much closer than most folks thought it would be, the South Carolina women beat South Florida. I mean, everybody got playing time, I believe. Almost the whole roster got 10 minutes. But it was not a 50-point shellacking like we get used to with the South Carolina women. It was an 18-point victory or 16-point victory. I mean, South Carolina, it was 35-31 in the second half. Got off to a nice lead early, 24-12. Then kind of, I'm not going to say coasted, but, a workmanlike victory. How's that sound? But you had a bunch of players in double digits. Chloe Kitts, Shania Fagan, Tahina Palpal, Ashlyn Watkins, Joyce Edwards led the way with 15. Bria Hall just missed double digits with 9. So a lot of folks did a lot of scoring. And Malaysia Fulwali and Tessa Johnson, who have been a nice, 1-2 punch off the bench in 36 minutes, only combined to score 6. And we're 2 of 9 from the floor, 0 of 3 from 3. And Maddie McDaniel got her 14 minutes in there, 4 rebounds, a couple of assists, only scored a point. Again, a lot of folks got some minutes. 10 players got 10 minutes or more in this basketball game. So South Carolina wins 78-62 over South Florida. The women are 10-1 now, with that only loss, of course, at UCLA. Next game, Charleston Southern. You can hear it on 107.5 The Game in Columbia, Thursday, 11:30 pregame, noon tip with our buddy Brad Muller. The men have quietly put together a win streak. Quietly. And they've started to play better. Got the W over USC Upstate on Saturday. Another double-double for Colin Murray Boyles, who is easily the go-to scorer on this basketball team. But here's a piece of the good news. that here lately it seems like other guys are starting to wake up a bit. Like in the USC Upstate game, Nick Pringle came alive, led the way with 19 points, 8 of 10 from the floor, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. Pringle added 6 boards. Colin Murray-Boyles went double-double, 13 and 11. But 19 from Pringle's a good sign. Jamari Thomas, again in double digits with 11. Jacoby Wright scored 10 in a starting role. This is another good one. Cam Scott off the bench with 7 points in 17 minutes, 2 of 4 from the floor, 3 or 4 from the free throw line. You'd like to see Cam Scott get it going. Again, he's a freshman. You don't want to make too much of anything. But so far this year, Cam Scott is, he's learning. He's only playing about 14 minutes a game, only shooting 23% from the floor, only 12% from three, only 63.5% from the line. So again, there have been some shooting struggles for Cam Scott, but dude's got a sweet stroke. Eventually, it should turn the corner. So it's good to see him go 2 of 4 in 17 minutes last night and also make 3 or 4 of his free throws. At this point, seeing the ball go in the basket is a huge thing when you're struggling. It really is. Zach Davis was productive with 9 off the bench. So a 73-53 win for South Carolina. And as you look at the season so far, as this team is 7-3, they've again it was a little struggle for a bit, but now have won 4 in a row and 5 out of 6. Early portion of the year, Colin Murray-Boyles has been the leading scorer, 16 a game, almost averaging a double-double, 9.5 rebounds. He's hitting 33% from three. He hasn't taken a lot of them, but he's made 33% of them. But he's shooting just a filthy 64% from the floor. Got to improve at the line, 62.5%. But Colin Murray-Boyles has had a nice start to his sophomore year. Jamari Thomas is finally getting it going, the second leading scorer, 12.5 a game, hitting 39% from three, because that's Jamari Thomas's game. Hitting threes and getting to the line. But Thomas so far this year only shooting about 64% from the line. South Carolina is hitting under 67% from the free throw line. That's obviously got to get better. And they're okay from three at 35%. That's around average, maybe a little bit above. But the free throw line's got to get better. And there's got to be a consistent second scorer besides Colin Murray-Boyles. Is it going to be Jamari Thomas? You hope so. Maybe you saw something from Nick Pringle against USC Upstate. Can Thomas and Pringle keep it going and get consistent? That's going to be a deal. Absolutely going to be a deal. So that's where it's at with South Carolina coming off of that game. Next up is Clemson. That is obviously tomorrow night. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our sister station 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We'll kick to the headlines of the day in the world of sports. The 49ers, they're trying to handle their problem with their linebacker, Devondre Campbell. We'll get to that. In case you missed that, we talked about it earlier. And some other notes from the world of sports. That is next as we go What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us till 3 on the game. Oh, what's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions, here on the Halftime Show. Terry Ford, glad you could be hanging around as we roll on. By the way, we're talking about the women playing Thursday, 11:30 pregame noon tip here on the game in Columbia, 107.5. They have moved up to number 2 in the country behind UCLA. The only team South Carolina has lost to. Bruins get 30 of 32 first-place votes. South Carolina, Notre Dame each get a vote. Right now, the Bruins far and away number 1. But again, how much does it matter? Not a whole lot in the big picture. But that's just the latest AP Top 25 poll. Also, speaking of basketball, NBA version, they're doing this NBA Cup. I'm like, whatever. My kid's deeply into it because he loves the Bucks. He loves Giannis. He's giving me updates constantly. The Bucks, who were awful to start the year and have now crawled back over 500, they'll play in the NBA the Cup final against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who had a phenomenal start to the season. So, and again, look, I get the NBA. They're trying to do something to make the early season matter, or to make it matter to viewers and advertisers. Because typically nobody pays attention to the NBA until the NFL's over. And then when you get to March Madness, folks, are just really zeroed in on college basketball. So the NBA doesn't really start to take center stage until they, get near the playoffs. And the playoffs are a season in themselves. So the NBA is trying to find something to make you pay attention to them through this 81-game schedule. It's worth a shot. I mean, if more people have eyeball the NBA Cup, okay, good for you. So you got Thunder and Bucks in the NBA Cup finals after both teams won on Saturday. All right, in the NFL, in case you missed this story, the San Francisco 49ers have decided to suspend Devondre Campbell 3 games because he refused to go into the contest against the Rams last Thursday night. Again, I'm cutting him on the sideline. I'm done. You can walk home. You are dead to us. But I understand in the world of the salary cap and the world of signing bonuses and other mechanics, you have to take a step back and look at the situation on how do you handle it, what's best for your organization. Forget the player, that's done. So what the 49ers have done has suspended Campbell 3 games for conduct detrimental to the team. That will wipe him out for the rest of the regular season. So he can't play for anybody else. I mean, who would sign him? I mean, somebody will probably in the offseason. I wouldn't. But what also the 49ers can do is possibly recoup some of the $3.35 million signing bonus they gave Campbell when they signed him to that 1-year, $5 million deal in March. That's kind of what they're looking at. So I get it. Big picture, he's away from the team, he's suspended, he'll never be a 49er again, and maybe you can get back some of the signing bonus. Totally understand it. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Interesting little post. I've only read a little bit of it on ESPN.com. Inside college football's great flag planting debate. I mean, is it a great debate? I mean, obviously when the topic comes up, everybody's got their own opinion, right? And it's just an opinion. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just your opinion. Some people think, well, if you don't lose, they can't plant their flag on your emblem at midfield. Fair. There's some school of thought saying, you know what? Get over it. You lost. Worry about that more than some stupid flag being planted in your field. Fair. In a perfect world, both those things are true, and you don't have any issues. But it's not a perfect world. And I thought about this because, my first thought was like that. I was like, don't lose. It doesn't happen. Or you know what? You got bigger problems than a flag being planted in the middle of your field if you lost the game, right? But then let's think about these deals. Yeah, it's only a couple of people, usually in this thing. It was pretty ugly Ohio State, Michigan, but most of the time one guy goes to plant it, or a couple people and a couple other dudes from the other team run over, and hopefully the coaching staffs come out and fix the nonsense before it becomes real nonsense. But the problem is it does become nonsense. Because the team that loses, they've already lost, and now you're going to go and be disrespectful. And you can say, come on, man, it's an emblem in the middle of the field. Get over it. Again, I don't disagree with you. But you're not on that team, and you just didn't lose a game, and you're not emotional, and you're not between the ages of 18 and 22, where the emblem on the middle of the field means something in your mind. And someone's going to stick their flag in it. You're like, nope, I'm going to take that flag and stick it somewhere else, Chief. It's just, it shouldn't be a thing, but it's a thing. And I almost feel like you need to just put an end to the flag planting at midfield. There's other ways to celebrate your win. This is just I feel like something bad is going to happen at some point because, again, you had a lot of emotion involved. And, again, we're dealing with young adults in a very testosterone-filled moment. And, things can happen. So I almost feel like you got to put a ban on the flag planting just for the good of the cause. It shouldn't be anything. It should be no big deal, but it's obviously a big deal. Even if it's just a few people, but it only takes a few people to make something that shouldn't be a big deal something everybody regrets. So probably in everybody's best interest is to put an end to it and move on. All right, we got a lot of Carolina calls this week, Wednesday and Thursday. A special Citrus Bowl version with Shane Beamer on Wednesday, along with Todd Ellis at 6. Thursday, our regular Carolina calls during basketball season with Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. Both of those Carolina calls episodes will be on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our affiliate at 100.3 in Myrtle Beach. Today is December 16th. It's the greatest day in the history of the world. And I usually get a Firehouse Sub text the hour. I think I'm going to have a Firehouse Sub email of the hour coming up before 3 o'clock. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us. We go till 3 here on The Game. Halftime show. Greatest day in the history of the world, which is December 16th. We always like to go old school with our first one. This day in 1918, over 100 years ago, Jack Dempsey, and if you're a boxing dork, you've heard of Jack Dempsey. He was one of the greatest heavyweights of all time in the early 1900s. Dempsey knocks out Carl Morris in 14 seconds. 14 seconds. Basically walked out. Dempsey hit him. Doom. Done. Boom. See ya. 14 seconds. That makes the Mike Tyson-Michael Spinks fight look like a marathon. You're saying, who is this bum that Jack Dempsey knocked out in 14 seconds? Well, Carl Morris was known as the Oklahoma White Hope back in the early 1900s. Started his career as a boxer 7-0 with 7 knockouts, including a huge win over a former heavyweight champion named Marvin Hart. Morris then went to the final. I love the names of these guys. Morris then went to the final bell with fireman Jim Flynn. Because I'm guessing back then he was a real fireman who decided to fight. Morris fought Jack Dempsey 3 times and lost all 3. He was also knocked out for the first time against Luther McCarthy. Basically, this guy started his career really well, and then things kind of went sideways. Later in life, he worked as a steam shovel operator. So that's who Carl Morris was, who got knocked out in 14 seconds by Jack Dempsey. Also on this day, 1967, Wilt Chamberlain scored 68 points in a win over the Bulls. 1973, O.J. Simpson rushed for 200 yards in a win over the Jets, set an NFL record with 2,003 yards rushing for the season. That was in a 14-game season. That's back when people liked O.J. Now, again, the record was owned by Jim Brown, who did it in a 12-game season, 1,863 yards. On this day in 1990, Warren Moon threw for 527 yards, second greatest passing day in NFL history. Oilers beat the Chiefs 27-10. This was interesting. 2003, New Orleans Saints wide receiver Joe Horn is fined $30,000 by the NFL for making a choreographed cell phone call in the end zone to celebrate a touchdown during a rout of the Giants. Now, again, today, that would be fine, wonderful, fantastic. During the No Fun League days, you got fined for it. This day in 2006, Morton Anderson becomes the greatest kicker in NFL history. The 46-year-old breaks Gary Anderson's scoring record of 2,434 points. 2007, Brett Favre threw for 227 yards in Green Bay's win over St. Louis, knocking out Dan Marino to become the NFL's career leader in passing yards. Favre finished the game with over 61,000 yards, 61,405, bettering Marino what Dan had done in 17 seasons. Ryan Lochte, the American swimmer, who was a highly decorated American swimmer. 2012, Lochte set the first individual swimming world record since the high-tech bodysuits were banned, winning the 400-meter individual medley in Dubai. 2012, Lochte wins 2 more races at the Short Course World Championships in Istanbul. Ryan Lochte, though, is known for what happened in Rio at the Olympics. Remember, they made a big deal, him and some other swimmers, they were robbed in Rio. Then you find out, no, they weren't robbed. They were being hassled by security at a gas station because they were liquored up and were publicly urinating, and Lochte had, what was it, a little vandalism, and they had to pay off the security guys. Oops. Yeah, Ryan Lochte, and put it this way, Ryan Lochte never, ever attended a Mensa meeting. Let's just put it that way, but a heck of a swimmer. 2013, Justin Tucker kicked 6 field goals for the Ravens, including a 61-yarder in the final minute as Baltimore beat Detroit 18-16. On this day in 2016, James Harden gets his 6th triple-double of the season. Rockets made an NBA record at the time, 24 three-pointers in a win over New Orleans. And on this day in 2019, Drew Brees breaks Peyton Manning's NFL record for career touchdown passes. Brees throws his 539th. In that game, by the way, Brees went 29 to 30 for 307 yards and 4 TDs. It was an NFL record for completion percentage in a game, 96.7%. Before Drew Brees' arm totally went, man, he was something else as a quarterback. So there is the greatest day in the history of the world. Getting you caught up on that. All right, well, quick email I got from Michael. I appreciate the email. Because usually we do Firehouse Sub Text the hour. This email, basically, I'll paraphrase. Michael was saying that, the biggest issue with my analogy of saying, these players leaving before the postseason, which is bowl games, college football playoff, whatever, is like NFL players leaving before the postseason started to go into free agency or the NFL transfer portal. It makes no sense. It would never happen. Whereas the NCAA has no rules, regulations, no leadership, no, high-level thinking to get ahead of anything. They're very reactionary, not proactive. Michael said the problem is the athletes have all the power. And I guess I will say this. I see where you're going with that, Michael. I think the problem is there's no rules to go with that power. That's the problem. Because, again, the NCAA, every time they try to fix something, they go to court and lose. Because basically the NCAA has been running on a premise of breaking antitrust laws for, 70, 80 years? So, I agree in theory where you're going, Michael, but I would say this. What needs to happen is, and people hate when I say it, for all these parties to get together and collectively bargain an agreement. So there are rules and regulations. And like you said, the players wouldn't have 100% of the power. It would be more balanced. Things would make sense. You could have deadlines and you wouldn't have all this craziness that you have. This thing is never going to go back to the old days. As much as you want it to, as much as there are people who hate the fact that players can transfer anytime they want and they get this NIL money and schools have to negotiate with players and all this other stuff that makes people sick to their stomach, it's not going away. But what has to happen is there's got to be rules and regulations put in. And the only way you do that is involving everyone in the decision-making process and coming up with rules and regulations that they're not going to make everybody happy, but they will put some type of guardrails to this craziness. And to me, that's the biggest thing is you have no balance. Before it was all tilted away from players. Now it's all tilted to players. And I got no problem with players having the rights they have. I don't. I have a problem with the idea there's no set criteria because every time the NCAA tries to do something, they're breaking an antitrust law. And they get whooped in court because that's what they do. They get beat like our guy Carl against Jack Dempsey. 14 seconds, knocked out. To me, that's the issue, is you got to get everybody together and hammer out some type of agreement. And you're going to have to redo it every 5 years or whatever the case. I know no one likes to hear it, but that's got to be done because you're not going back to the old days. You're just not. And this stuff is craziness. Problem is, there are schools that are benefiting from all this insane transfer portal and NIL and all the stuff that's going on right now with no rules and regulations. There are schools that are benefiting from it that really like it like this. That's the other thing. Because the way everything's done, and I'm not dogging anybody because I'd be doing the same thing. Everybody's looking out for themselves. No one's looking out for the greater good of college football or college athletics. Everyone's looking out for themselves. Of course, that's what got college athletics in this mess in the first place. Everybody looking out for themselves. All right, Jay Phillips post-game show coming up. We'll try to yip with Jay, maybe do our little handoff sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine Road. Get you ready, Jay. Nice little guest list today for Jay. 5 o'clock today, you might have heard of him. Jeremiah Donati, the new athletic director at South Carolina, will be on with Jay at 5. Derek Scott jumping in at 4. David Cloninger posting Courier at 3. That's what's coming up on the post-game show. Jay is here. Elijah taking the day off. They will be starting up at 3 right here on the game. Halftime show. Get ready to wrap this sucker up. Time to hand it off to Jay Phillips in the postgame show. Elijah, last time we checked, all I can say is he did call for bail money. We'll see how that goes. Jay's here. His days of getting bailed out are over. Know what I'm saying?
Live radio, look in on me. So you can talk all the crap you want about me right now because I can't hear a word.
You can't hear anything. Oh, yeah. It's like they do to me when I'm plugging in my earbuds, like Tyler. He looks like he's all smiling and being nice, and he's just trashing me, and I can't hear it because I'm plugging in my earbuds.
Now I can hear you.
There you go, bud. What's up, man?
Happy
Good?
Monday. It's been a while.
I know.
Yeah. You know, when you have all these days to take off and no days to take them. Here I am.
Take them when you get them. But by the way, I think it's great that you're taking Saturdays and Sundays to get caught up when your day's off.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
Sure. I worked on Saturday. I watched football.
That's working.
Yeah.
That's working. You work Sunday because you watch your Broncos. You worked.
Dude. Broncos, that's a weird, big blowout win because Denver wasn't playing great. Colts definitely came prepared, but the Colts just blundered their way through the game and gave Denver, so
the Jonathan Taylor was unbelievable.
I want to talk. Like, I'm going to see if Brewers do it. I don't know if Brewers doing tomorrow's show or not. I think Langston's going to come on a little bit later than typical, but obviously that was Brewers' position. I just, Terry, don't understand.
I don't either, man.
I mean, when you have, as a football player, so many this would be like you or me just looking right at each other or into our YouTube camera or whatever, or just whatever, and just dropping an F-bomb. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Knowing full well that as soon as we do, that's it. Mm-hmm. Why do guys drop the ball?
I don't get it.
I always go back. I told my wife this yesterday. I was like, well, the Broncos just got a gift. Because she was doing some stuff around the house, and she heard me go okay. Because at first I was like, man, that's a crappy touchdown. Like, come on, defense. Mm-hmm. But I always go back, and Gamecock fans that are of a certain age, like mine, you will remember how George Rogers treated the ball when he scored. George would cross the goal line, and he would very calmly and gently place the ball on the end line, not the goal line, the end line. Mm-hmm. And then he would get up and celebrate with his teammates. But I can always see George doing that. And now, I'm not saying that's the way you should do it, but you know what that guaranteed? That you weren't dropping the bleeping ball.
You crossed the goal line with the ball.
And he went all the way through the end zone, laid it on the end line, hug his teammates, high fives, whatever else.
I remember Barry Sanders would go up and give the ball to the official in the end zone.
That's what I told my wife yesterday. It's like, you want the best way to know that you have done it right?
Hand it to the ref.
Here, sir. On to the next one.
Oh, you're in the end zone. Here, this is for you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
I appreciate your help and assistance.
I just don't understand that.
I don't get it either, Jay. I don't, especially when we've seen this happen over the last. It's only started like the one I remember the most is Deshaun Jackson was the first one with the Eagles. Remember he dropped it when he was going in the end zone to celebrate. Dropped it on like the 2-yard line or whatever. Since then. We see it every now and then, college and pro, and I don't understand.
Well, it happened here.
I'm sorry.
Y'all help me out. It was like Shane's first season.
Yeah, I wasn't here. I was here at the end of the first season. I missed the.
Somebody hit us up on the tag. Hit me up on Twitter. It's easier for me to check on Twitter. JPhillips1075. Who did that? Like in the south end zone here. I feel like that's where it happened. And then there was something that happened at East Carolina that was a weird play, too, that year. But anyway, I'm just drawing a blank on the player.
I just don't get it, man.
I don't. Just again, they should be taught, hand the ball to the official.
Yes. And I'll be honest.
And if you don't hand I don't. If you're a coach and you score, like, hey, dude, I don't care if you just had a 100-yard run. Mm-hmm. If you don't hand the ball to the official after the touchdown, I'm docking you, or you're running steps, or whatever level and how they can. And now, of course, with college guys, you could technically fine them, but whatever, Yeah. Like, hand the ball to the official,
and then go do your celebration.
Yeah.
I don't care what your celebration is. Hand the ball to the official first, and then celebrate.
I know you think it looks cool, but you know it's not cool. not scoring.
I don't understand
you
what
are-
the dropping the ball is supposed to be so
It's cool.
awesome.
I guess I don't get it, man.
I don't either, man. I just don't.
I really don't.
Cross the goal line.
Yeah.
That changed the entire momentum of that game.
Yeah. Oh, no question. That's why when they finally, I was like, I remember going like, wait, because I had it on Red Zone, and I was like, wait, they're reviewing that? Because at first you can't tell,
Uh-huh.
and So thankfully, as a Broncos fan, that was
I remember
great.
because they said it on Red Zone. They're going, we don't understand what's going on. Then they said, oh, they're checking to see if he dropped the ball before he crossed the goal. And I'm like, oh, not one of these. I was like, you're
And
kidding.
by about, what do you think? Less than a foot, he did.
It was just ridiculous, especially a guy that much of a veteran.
Right.
You would think
That's what Dan
come on,
Patrick said
man.
this morning. He's like, he's probably scored 100 touchdowns in his life.
Cross the goal line.
Yeah. So
It's unreal. But hey, your Broncos got a W.
and moved up a seed line.
Well, I tell you this.
They're. I mean, now you got to really. They got to. I mean,
I know.
knock on what is this? Formica?
Yeah,
what is
probably.
this stuff?
Hey,
Knock on this stuff a lot, but I think my Broncos are going to the playoffs.
dude, that's
man.
pure redwood over there, by the way.
Yeah, no.
That's not Formica. Cumulus Media would spare no
Dude,
expense.
if this was Redwood, it would have already been sold. Trust me.
That is absolutely true.
Trust me. There's a law firm in one of these buildings down here. They're going, oh, that's a nice redwood desk.
You want it?
We'll buy that for. And here's some Formica.
Ready? Wow. Why did the security camera get spray painted all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Really weird how that happened. Yeah, your Broncos, unless they totally screw it up here at the end, they should be in.
Yeah, because now I think they have a 2-game lead with 3 to play. Now, the catch is their Thursday, their game this week with the Chargers got flexed to Thursday night. So that could make a difference. I don't know.
Yeah, but
and
you
that's
know
who's
what?
chasing them.
When you think about where they're at and where they're coming from, you got a rookie starting a quarterback, a lot of parts you've moved around since last offseason. Really, not to be mean, you did a lot of addition by subtraction.
Yes.
Let's just be, that wasn't a great locker room and not a great culture when Sean Payton took it over. So now you have kind of improved all of that around a rookie quarterback who's had moments where he looks like he's getting better, and he's had moments where he looks like he's a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
But that's what happens when you start a rookie quarterback. I'll tell you this. You watch your guy, even in his bad moments, here's what you do. Ready? At least he's not Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, he's not making those mistakes. I mean, Nix has looked, he's looked solid. Spencer looked good yesterday. I was really, it's Washington's defense just really locked down on that 2-point try. But for Spencer to quickly take him down
Came in
the
the
field,
game.
hit a nice couple of passes. I think they really like him down there. I was happy to see that. And I know their season's not really going anywhere, but I hope his future is a little brighter. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with that franchise.
No one does.
So
But
there's that.
that's a good place to be. If there's going to be a lot of stuff going on and you're that guy on a rookie deal,
Yeah.
maybe there's something there
And
for
not
you.
just
We'll see.
not a first round rookie deal. I mean, if they
Right.
like enough, you can maybe move some pieces around and you've got some cash to spend and support him. But he looked all right.
Yeah, I mean, he's had some moments where he's held his own.
Yeah.
He's been okay.
Yeah.
All right. Post-game show's next. You're on the game.
3 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome aboard the post-game show alongside alongside Terry Ford. What is going on around here? Elijah has a well-earned day off after yours truly has just been lazy the last couple of days. But we have a very busy program for you this afternoon. Our good friend David Cloninger talking a little Carolina football coming up, bottom of the hour. The voice of the Gamecocks, Derek Scott in the 4. Big basketball opportunity tomorrow night over at Colonial Life Arena. We'll get into Derek about that. And then we're very excited for us here at the station for the first time in the 5.